In a frenetic city full of social contrasts, where lives flow quickly between successes and defeats, an unexpected turning point has occurred. A young woman from humble origins, Sierra, saved a woman whose identity was completely unknown to her while she was in difficulty on the street. The woman was a charming and refined figure, but Sierra could not imagine that behind that appearance was the executive director of one of the most influential companies in the city, Metropolis Enterprises. A simple, almost banal event was about to change her life forever. Before continuing with the story, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so as not to miss other exciting stories like this one. It all started one ordinary day when Alba, the director of the company, decided to take a short break from her frenetic work. Alba was used to dedicating every minute of her day to her career, so much so that she rarely found time for herself. But that day, while she was walking through the crowded sidewalks of the city, a sudden illness struck her. She felt a sudden emptiness in her head, and her legs gave out. The coffee she had just bought slipped out of her hand and spilled on the asphalt while her body collapsed to the ground. The people around didn't seem to notice her. Those who were walking nearby continued to do so without turning around, lost in their daily frenzy. It was then that Sierra, a determined young woman always ready to lend a hand, noticed the scene. Without hesitation, she ran towards Alba, helped her up gently, and accompanied her to a bench in the shade, away from the chaos of the street. In a gentle voice, he asked, "Are you feeling better? Take a deep breath, you're safe now." Alba, still stunned by what had happened, looked gratefully into Sierra's eyes. There was something reassuring in her presence, a kindness that did not go unnoticed. Before leaving, Sierra wished her a peaceful day, without realizing that this simple action would mark the beginning of a turning point in her life. That evening, Alba couldn't stop thinking about that girl with the kind eyes. Who was she? What did she do? She knew absolutely nothing about her, yet that young woman had made a profound impression on her. When the next day she found herself in the interview room to select a new assistant, she had no idea what awaited her. She entered the room, ready to evaluate the candidates with her usual professional detachment. But the moment her eyes met Sierra's, Alba felt a shiver run down her spine. She couldn't believe it. The girl who had saved her life the day before was there, ready to be interviewed. Sierra, for her part, did not seem to recognize the powerful director in front of her. For her, it was simply a job opportunity, a chance to build the future she had always dreamed of. Alba tried to remain calm, but it was clear that the meeting had shaken her deeply. She began the interview with her usual composure, but as the conversation progressed, she could not help but notice how different Sierra was from all the other candidates. It was not only her kindness that stood out, but also her competence, determination, and the passion with which she spoke about her aspirations. Halfway through the conversation, Alba realized that Sierra had something special, something that went beyond just her resume. It was as if fate had brought her there, right at that moment, for a very specific reason. If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like it to support the channel. Sierra, who grew up in a modest neighborhood of the city, had always dreamed of standing out. Despite the difficulties, she had studied with dedication, managing to obtain a degree thanks to a scholarship. She was intelligent, determined, and above all, endowed with an inner strength that had helped her overcome every obstacle. And now, here she was, in front of the director of one of the most influential companies in the country, without knowing that their previous meeting had already decided her destiny. Alba couldn't get the image of Sierra helping her out of her head. As the conversation developed, she felt an ever stronger admiration for that girl who, despite everything, managed to remain authentic. At the end of the interview, Alba made a decision. Sierra was the right person for the job, and not just for her skills, but also for her humanity. The announcement of her hiring was greeted with surprise and joy, but deep down, Alba knew that this was not just a professional decision. It was the first step in a new chapter, both for her and for Sierra. Fate had intertwined their lives in an unpredictable way. And that day, within the walls of that large company, the door had opened to a future in which feelings and emotions would play a fundamental role. Their working lives would take a completely different turn from what they had imagined. If you have a thought or reflection on how fate plays with our lives, leave a comment below. Do you believe that our actions can really influence the course of events? As Sierra began to work side by side with Alba, the bond between the two grew more and more every day. It wasn't just a matter of work, but something deeper. The mutual admiration slowly transformed into a sincere friendship until it became something even more significant. The heart, as often happens, had taken over.